Good evening. I hope everyone has had a great Thanksgiving. Seth here, obviously. Uh, the other day I mentioned that I have not gotten any knife commissions. Well, as soon as I said that, I guess I just tempted fate because at work tonight, one of my coworkers, his name is Bryce. He's also on our sword forums, guys. Give him a shout out, or give him say hey. I don't know. Anyway, he's kind of a newcomer to swords. He's into guns and knives. Anyway, he gave me this knife tonight to sharpen for him, and it's a probably not saying this right. Camillus carbon nitride titanium. It's VGT. It's VG10 steel. Pretty much no edge. I'm gonna do a paper swipe here. I'm out of notebook paper. I know, I'm just so heartbroken by that. So I'm gonna use some printer paper. It's all bent up, and I got some newspaper. It might cut paper. Ripping it. I have not touched the edge yet, obviously. Yeah, that's no good. Okay, Bryce, don't worry. I'm gonna turn this beast into a excuse me. I'm gonna turn it into a razor for you. I will have it ready for you Sunday night or Sunday evening when I come back to work. So stay tuned, guys. Let's see how this Seth treatment works on a knife. I've never seen a knife like this before. It's actually pretty cool. I may end up getting one myself if I can find one. The only thing bad about it, and I'm not trying to get into a review here, is there's no safety on it. Like if it's in your pocket and your leg bumps this part, it's going to come out. So, I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. We'll see. It does have kind of a spring action to it once you get it going. The little knob right there, So, I don't know. Anyway, let me get to the sharpening. You guys stay tuned. I'll be back. Alright, I am back, guys. And this is one of those knives that just does not want to get sharp. What I mean by that is the steel must be extremely soft, because you can, looking at it through the naked eye, as I am right now, you can see where I sharpened it, and like the blade move up and then over, which means a lot of metal came off with some very fine belts, which really strong steel doesn't do that. I kept having to just check and check and check, and it wasn't getting sharp. So it was either I was fucking up, or the steel was so soft it was just grinding down and down and down, and it wasn't really doing anything. I was just wasting metal and wasting my time. So I went back down, and you can see where, like, this is where I start, and then it kind of swoops like down like this. It's hard to see on my camera, especially when it's facing me because it's lower resolution. But you can see if I hold it like this, you can see how it comes up at the end. That's because a lot of metal was coming off that I didn't realize. And it's late at night. I'm tired. I've had a really bad couple of days, and I'm having me a 40 ounce. Still reserve, baby. Anywho, it's one of those soft metals. I've never dealt with VG10 before. I've never dealt with this brand before. I had no idea. Bryce, I had no idea how much you pay for this blade. But I would say choose a different knife, because this is just... Anyway, I'm not here to judge. I'm here to do a sharpening commission. Remember in the first part of the video, it wouldn't cut paper. It'll swipe. Like I said, I'm out of notebook paper, and this thing is just not going to cut newspaper, but here we go. Now, to get that, all I had to do was strop it, which means it's very soft steel. Like, I kept going through 1,000 grit, 1,500 grit, and it would get to the point where it would feel sharp, and then I go to the next grit, it'd feel dull, which means you was losing too much metal on this between the grits. And instead of getting sharp, all I was doing was just sanding down the blade to where it was going from like from this to this to this to this. I wasn't getting anywhere. So I learned something tonight. That soft steel, like apparently this is made out of. I don't know what it is. I've never used this. Like I said, I've never used this steel. I've never heard of this brand. I've never dealt with this. And I'm usually do swords. Yeah. So I could have, just saved myself a lot, like 2 hours, of working to just strop it. But the thing is, and I'm sure you know, if it sharpens really fast on ultra fine grit, which is what a leather strop with honing compound is, it's going to dull extremely fast. Which means if I was to do this a whole lot longer, I'd be back to square A. I'd be back to stropping it again. It doesn't even, it feels sharp. You said you wanted it to shave hair, Bryce. Let's see if I can shave some hair. It's shaving. I don't know if you can see that on my camera because this is black, but there's hair right there. And you can't see it. Let's see. Yeah. No, can't see it. Okay, it's shaving. And this is the kind of blade that will not come out Seth sharp because it's not strong enough to maintain that edge. I do my knives. 1 second. This is just depressing me. I do my knives like this one. Just a buck hunting knife. And you'll probably know it from the Scream movies. The other day I did a swipe test, and it's still crazy sharp. I have had this since I was 21. I'll be 37 in January. I have sharpened it once on the work sharp, and it didn't even need it. All I did was I used the 6000 grit, and then I just wiped off with some Windex. It's been good to go since. It is the reason I have the scar right here. Right there. Different story. But the point is, this steel is hard. It's going to maintain an edge. Once you get it sharp, unless you try to cut glass with it or plastic or cardboard, it's going to, I can do this all day, whatever. It's going to maintain that edge. This thing is soft steel. VGT sounds cool, but I grind off a lot of metal with like ultra fine belts, and it shouldn't have done that. I could have just stropped it with leather and some compound. It's sharp now. See that? It's starting to grab already on printer paper. It's still swiping. And I will re-strop it before I hand it back to you. 2 or 3 more passes, just so you get it hair popping sharp. But I would seriously consider getting a different knife for everyday carry or for it to be your knife. My knife is a Spyderco. We all know how sharp those things are and how sharp they stay. But Bryce, your knife is done. I got it to where I'm satisfied. It is swiping paper. As you see, one more time, I will re-strop before I give it back to you. It's a pain in the ass to sharpen a knife like this because I've noticed it won't stay sharp. This is the Camillus Carbon Nitride Titanium. It sounds really cool, but I'm betting the HRC on this is below 50 because there's no way it could be any different. If I had to review this particular piece, it would get a very, very low rating. There's no safety to keep this from opening in your pocket. The blade is blackened, which I don't like on my pocket knives. Usually the blackened blades are cheap, and this is no exception. The belt clip, I prefer mine to be the opposite, which there's screws up here. But who wants to hold a blade like this on their pocket? I don't. And I'm starting to ramble. All in all, though, I have your blade sharpened. It's ready to go. I'm going to shut up. It's cutting paper. It's swiping paper. It's shaving hair. But it won't last. To take a blade from dull to razor like this on just the strop, that means the steel is very, very, very soft. Which is why the other grits couldn't keep the pace going. It couldn't keep the momentum going. Which is why this is not as sharp as I can make a blade. To me, this is dull. Believe it or not. This knife can outperform that knife. It can swipe paper, of course. But look at the angle. Look at what I did. I was slow. A little bit of grab there, but I think that's because there's an edge there. There's a little lip down there, see. Now let's try it with your knife. Both were sharpened by me. Let's try it this slow, just pushing through. I guarantee you it will grab. Maybe I'm wrong. Anyway, once again, for the second time this week, never doubt yourself. I will wrist drop this again to make sure it's at the maximum cutting potential, Bryce. And this has gone on way too long. It's 10 minutes almost, just me rambling. I will see you Sunday, sir. Thank you for your commission, and hope this helps anybody picking out their blades. You guys have a great night.